If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could write them a text or knit them a sweater. If you can't be together, you could write them a letter. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You can ask on your couch while you binge watch. However you do it, you gotta ask a friend. And if they don't share, you can ask again. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome in to the Husker Women's Basketball Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Good one. Welcome to the first edition of this. Big Sky, thank you for doing this. The ladies fall 72-65 to Indiana. Hot on the road. It was this was a brawl more than anything else. I'm impressed by Indiana. I'm also disappointed. They play a style of play that's a little chippy, a little obnoxious, but that's okay. We'll talk about that. A 72-65 win for the Hoosiers over Nebraska. The Hoosiers improved to 13-2. That is their 8th straight win, the number 6 ranked team in the country. And based on what we've seen so far, this is the best team that we've seen on the women's side of basketball all season. This is the best team I've seen. From the way they play, they were without one of their bigs, just like Nebraska was. The story, the lead may be the shoulder injury to Sam Hybie late in the ball game, and so we don't really know what the particulars are on that. We'll wait and see. That story, along with Bella Cravens, still being on the mend as well. So the Huskers have some things to work on. Second straight loss. I'm not sure they're disappointed by either of the losses. Or they're disappointed by the losses, but not exactly a reason to set the place on fire. They get a rematch with Iowa on Saturday, and that'll show us something. And then they'll dip quickly into the bottom 3 teams in the women's side of the Big Ten after that. So they'll get a chance to get right, get healthy, and work on some things. You can, in fact, text in if you so choose, 424-645-5685. If you have something you want to add to, something you want to say, something you saw, something you're thinking of. Big Sky, how much of this did you get your eyes on? I know you're busy over there.
I was able to catch the majority of the second half, and I had it on when Strick and Bach were going there. So I caught a little bit of the second quarter as well. But I was really impressed by the ladies' ability to fight back, because I think we saw them in a spot where we've seen the men's team kind of crumble, not necessarily respond to the the challenge or rise to the occasion. And I thought I was really impressed with how the ladies battled back and got back within striking distance at the end of the game there.
Yeah, the numbers tell a story, but it was a little bit interesting to me to watch Markowski kind of, again, take a step up in a tough situation. It's good to get this early work in for the true freshman as she continues to ascend. You don't wish that Bella's out, but getting Markowski more reps, getting her moments, touches in big ball games and Big Ten ball games will help them later in the season. It will certainly help them when it comes to Big Ten tournament time and forward. Here are the numbers. Again, a 72-65 final. The Huskers shot 40% from the field. They were 24 of 60. Not the best shooting night from the field, from beyond the arc. They shot 29%, 6 of 21. Also, put an asterisk by this, 11 of 18 from the free throw line. That is not the space that they want to be in, nor is it typical. And that's a thing to circle. The Huskers did their thing on the boards, but the number that jumps out over everything else was 19 Husker turnovers, 19 Nebraska turnovers. The points off transition were deeply in favor for Indiana. I think that was how the game was determined. Nebraska did a pretty good job on the boards. They had a +6 advantage. 11 offensive rebounds for the Huskers, 9 assists on 24 makes. That number has to be higher in order for Nebraska to do their thing. Big Sky, Markowski leading with 17, Shelley with 15, Hybe with 10 in half the minutes of everybody else. What did you see tonight from the scoring? Did they look comfortable to you?
It didn't seem like they had it going from beyond the arc like they normally do, which was disappointing, given it was our first night to do the post-game show. But I think this was an anomaly more so than the new norm for this team. And as Nick Sainert, who will be joining us later in the show, pointed out on Twitter, Alexis Markowski, 3 starts against 3 ranked teams, and she's averaging 17 points in those 3 games. So it's exciting that while there was still a lot to look at and say we need to get back to work, we still see some things to be hopeful for and to be excited about, especially in a young freshman in Markowski there.
Markowski leading the way with 17 points on 8 of 15 shooting. Not bad. She also had 7 rebounds and 3 steals. Her being active in the passing lane. Again, you're denying middle. You're making things tough for folks. Markowski was getting her hands on 3 and tipped away another 2. So her being active defensively is an impressive thing. It's a good look. 15 for Jess Shelley on 5 of 11 shooting. She also brought down 9 rebounds and had 3 assists. She did have 6 turnovers, but that's high usage for her getting that much work, especially once Sam went out. She had to carry the burden more. She faced more traps. She had to get in space. But 5-11 from the field, 1 of 2 from beyond the arc. 10 for Sam Hybe in her 18 minutes, 4 of 10 from the field, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. She also had 4 turnovers. In watching women's basketball, especially in the Big Ten, the better teams are extremely physical against Nebraska. It's not that Nebraska can't handle it. It just looks different. It looks different to watch Nebraska being bodied up. Teams can get physical against Nebraska. Nebraska can't get physical back. And I don't know what the optics are, and I don't know why it looks the way it does. But for those tough games, it looks like teams have made a point that they were just going to try to push Nebraska around to get them off their rhythm. And I think it shows up in the 3-point and the free throw shooting. That's just the way it looks to me.
Certainly, same song that you've been hearing for men's basketball and I guess football for that matter is physicality is going to be what determines the winner in the Big Ten and at the top of the Big Ten. And we're just seeing that's more of the same in women's basketball as well. I was encouraged again that, you're looking at just, some of the things that maybe don't tell the story necessarily, but Nebraska has a similar record to Indiana and they played a very close game with Indiana. And so maybe they're not too far away from, the the pollsters seem to think that they're not a top 25 team, but maybe they're not as far away as they think.
Yeah, I mean, a 7-point loss on the road in a game that could have gone down to a final possession, depending on how you play it. But having seen Michigan, Ohio State, Maryland, in my mind, Indiana's the best team in the Big Ten. Like they've already beaten Maryland. You saw what they did against Nebraska tonight, even without their big in the paint, their big space eater. I think Nebraska is facing the Lion early, and I'm okay with that. Because, again, if Markowski can get acclimated, you got to remember Jess Shelley, this is her first run with Nebraska. Now you're going to have to get more minutes off the bench. Allison Widener coming off the bench, giving you more minutes, especially if Sam Hybe is injured to any degree past tonight. You start to mark the box. We'll see more Kendall Coley. You see more Ruby Porter. But this Indiana team, they've won 8 straight games in a row. And they score, they defend, they shoot it a ton. They're better than I thought they were going to be. So the current rankings would be as such: Indiana, Michigan, Maryland, Ohio State, Northwestern, Iowa, and then Nebraska, and then the bottom half, Purdue, who Nebraska won't face for another 3 or 4 ball games. So I think Nebraska's sitting right about where it would be. It has an opportunity Saturday to punch up and get Iowa back in their space. I don't think Amy Williams has much to be concerned about. I'm looking forward to her post-game conference. But her young ladies fought tonight. And coming off the Iowa game with Iowa down the road, this thing could go left pretty quickly. Iowa's going to be waiting for them. There won't be any surprises when they go to Iowa. Iowa knows what's coming, and you're going to face Caitlin Clark, and she put on a show here at PBA, and we'll have a chip on her shoulder. She'll have a chip on her shoulder, because the fans kind of got on her. Nebraska will have to do a couple of things. One, I can't imagine that they're going to shoot 29% from 3 again. They shoot the ball too well. That's just been the deal. I love the fact that this team rebounds. This team, 41 rebounds, 11 offensive rebounds. They hunt the ball, they stalk it, they track it. I want to go down and this lane with you, Big Sky. When you see this team play, do you want more usage from Jess Shelley? Is that asking too much of her?
I think her usage is good where it's at right now. I think we're getting the best version of her with how Amy Williams is choosing to use her right now. We saw tonight she took 11 shots and scored 15 points, 9 rebounds. It's a good line, and I don't think you can ask too much more out of a Jazz Shelley. And I think the biggest thing for me is looking at the box score. Nebraska uses significantly more players, goes deeper into their bench than Indiana does. And so I think if Nebraska has that ability to go deep into their bench and give some of their starters more rest to keep them fresh for those late game moments, I think that's what you have to do. That's playing to your strength. And I think that's what Amy Williams' team does best, is playing to their strengths. And so I would prefer that they just keep rolling with what they're doing and kind of just trust the process to Rob from Philadelphia there.
Yeah, it was several different aspects. Coley got late minutes. I thought she would play a little bit more to take some of the pressure off. Annika Stewart hit 2 big threes, struggled a little bit defensively and trying to be in the right place, in the right space. We saw Ruby Porter getting extra minutes, and Allison Widener has blossomed. I'm not sure it was on purpose. I don't know. I certainly don't know if it was expected. But for her to come in and give the minutes that she gave, that's 16 minutes for another true freshman. That's pretty impressive. The numbers, again, Ashley Scoggins with 6. She was 2 of 4 from 3. Annika Stewart was 2 of 5 from 3. Markowski was 1 of 2 from 3. You went 0 for 3, 0 for 2 with Sam Hybe and Izzy Bourne. Izzy Bourne I'm pretty positive we'll circle the next time these teams meet because she didn't seem in her best space tonight. She went 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, missed both free throw attempts. She did get 5 rebounds, but it just seemed like she was just a click off. And usually when that happens, Izzy Bourne puts it together the next night. So I expect when they face Iowa that Izzy Bourne and Ashley Scoggin have kind of have the additional juice going on. How good can Markowski be? Do you see her as a legitimate Big Ten threat?
Oh, I think she's showing you that she is right now. She's gone out and produced in 3 games against 3 ranked teams, 3 of the top teams in the Big Ten. And she's getting the national honors and the national attention that's deserving of, or those performances are deserving of. And so I do think Markowski can be a long-term fixture in the Nebraska starting 5. Is she going to continue getting better? That's not for me to say. I'm not, as we have discussed, the most excellent eye for scouting basketball talent. I did pick De'Aaron Fox for a top 5 NBA starting 5 right now. So maybe she has more room to grow. Maybe she is the player she is going to be already. But I think that whatever she ends up being, she's already, with just what her floor is right now, she is a viable Big Ten starter.
17 points in a brawl. The last 2, Iowa did it, Indiana did it. Any team that plays against Nebraska becomes flop city. Like there's the flailing, every bump is like earth shattering, 2 arms and 1 foot in the air every time a Nebraska player touches them. And I've got the feeling that Amy Williams will have something to say to Big Ten officiating because Nebraska's not being allowed to play the way other teams are being allowed to play against them.
That's par for the course, DP. I don't know what Husker fans are expecting anymore. We've seen it across every sport. Every other team gets the benefit of the doubt, and it seems like Nebraska always catches the wrong side of officiating. So I hope Amy Williams gets in their ear and lets them know what's going on, because it's painful to go and watch it in every sport, regardless of the coach, of the reputation of that particular program within the athletic department. So, I mean, I can't say I'm surprised, but hopeful that it will get better.
It really is it's every sport. It's every sport. To me, Nebraska's playing defense the same way the teams are defending them. But Nebraska runs through, they'll play through, and the opposing teams they'll fall, they'll flip, they'll gasp, they'll fake bleed, and then the official makes the call, and Nebraska comes down, and it's just the slightest bump. I find it interesting as more eyes start to be drawn to Nebraska women's basketball, that the quality of play has remained high. They started out 12-0. They're 1-3 in their last 4 games, but I don't think the level of play has decreased, other than the 3-point shooting on 2 of those 4 nights.
Well, I would like to ask you about that. In the last 2 games, we've seen them shoot 26% and 28% from beyond the arc, respectively. Is that, as a coach yourself, or a former coach yourself, I don't know how you want to classify yourself there, would that be alarming? Would that be, all right, former coach, would that be alarming for you?
When you look down the stat sheet, because in game I didn't have issue with any of the 3. Like it's that natural gut reaction that, oh, that's a bad 3. And you'll see it within the game, and then you'll go back once you've stepped away from it, and you'll look to see, okay, what do the numbers say? 6 of 21. Ani Stewart and Scoggin, they were 2 of 4 and 2 of 5. You're shooting 5. The 2 main shooters are giving you that. Yeah, Jess Shelley goes 1 for 2. I might ask her to take more threes, in truth. Like her taking two threes, I would expect more from her. Everybody else, I don't mind. I don't mind Nicole Caton and Porter and Kendall Coley coming in the game and taking threes. I don't mind that. So, yeah, I mean, this is the time where legs get tired and shooters and legs need each other. So to say that this is them hitting the wall, just imagine, and, hockey speak, sometimes the legs get tired and it throws off everything else because you played, you're in the middle of your schedule. Well, this team's in the middle of their schedule, and this is where legs happen. They did a pretty good job defending it. I'm not mad at how they defended, and I'm not mad at the shots they took. I just think you've had 2 nights of you shot it so well early in the season. You're not going to shoot 50% from 3 as a team all year. It's not going to happen. They still got a couple of players that are shooting it well. It's just a night where Hybe and Bourne went 0 for 5. There's the story. There's the story and the difference between, you hit 1 or 2 of those, it's a different ballgame.
Well, if you hit 3 of them, you've won the ball game. You're up 74-72 at that point. And you're not looking at a major deficit going into the last 90 seconds there, where I thought they played some of the hardest basketball I've seen from a Nebraska squad since I arrived in Lincoln. There was no quit in the squad tonight, and I think that was probably the most proud I've been watching an athletic team as a person who can say that they graduated from that university. And I was impressed by the ladies even in a loss tonight. So
you can say you're a graduate of the University of Nebraska. It's okay.
I like to get a little flowery with my language, DP.
Work it out, man. Work it out. I as a former coach, I would be a little bit more concerned about the 11 for 18 from free throw, from the free throw line, because that's a place where this team, if they're going to get bumped around, right? If teams are going to try to out physical them, they're going to have to go to the free throw line, and you're going to have to make your shots. Izzy Bourne was 0 of 2. Markowski was 0 of 3. Like Markowski in the paint, you don't want the hack of Markowski thing to become a thing, right? She can't go 0 for 3 from the free throw line. But again, the legs go. She's getting extra minutes than she was used to playing, and she's body bumping. She's down in the heavy work area. So her legs can go, but she has a pretty good stroke. Actually, they both do. So the idea of them shooting, going 0 for the night from the free throw line is just kind of weird. And it's also why people don't attack if you're afraid of going to the free throw line. That's a big thing. So they'll have to deal with that. Shelley led them with 9 rebounds, 7 from Markowski, 5 each. You got 5 from Izzy and Allison Widener, which again, her name keeps popping up in all the good spaces. And I don't know who else expected that you would have true freshmen that are balling out like that, but Nebraska has it. I don't think it's a bad loss. I think it's just a frustrating loss. They got 13 points off the bench, 32 points in the paint, which is Markowski and company doing their work. They scored 16 second chance points, had 11 offensive rebounds, another point to circle. They only had 3 points on the fast break. This team has to get more because you're getting free open looks at 3. And for a team that likes to shoot them in high volume, they need that. They've got to have the free points. Losing Sam Hybe certainly affects that because that's your pace setter and your go-getter. But yeah, those are some of the numbers that if I'm going to coach panic, that's kind of where we would go. So what do you got on the text line?
We just got one text I hear on the text line that just came in. Come on, man, DP. They aren't singled out. You've watched Rutgers, Penn State, or any other women's games. Come on.
Yeah, I actually do watch them. And here's where it was. Iowa flopped and flailed and drew flags and did the thing that makes everybody crazy, the James Harden arm flail at the smallest amount of contact. When you watch Penn State. Penn State's physical, but their spacing is so unique that when they have contact on defense, it's purposeful contact. What I'm talking about is the search for acting, the dramatic flailing that you go, elbow to elbow and you end up jumping 4 feet off the floor because somebody touched your elbow. It looks different. Maryland's a physical team. Like, they defend. I watched Maryland versus Indiana just to kind of get some idea about what Indiana brings to the table. And Maryland's physical. They're like, there's nobody in the Big Ten Conference more physical than Maryland. But it doesn't look the same. It doesn't look as physical as it looked tonight. Yeah, I would say against Iowa and tonight against Indiana, there were some weird calls. I didn't understand them. I didn't understand the flopping. Now, still no excuse for why you went 11 of 18 from free throw line and why you only shot 29% from three. I'm just saying other teams don't need help. Nebraska is not the biggest team in the conference. They play a fluid game. They need space. They require space. How you attack shooters is to body them. That's a coaching adage. If I'm playing a team that shoots the ball well, you know what? I'm gonna body them a little bit up and down the floor. That's how that works. So singled out, no, it looks different. It looks different. And if I see it different, I'll say it's different. So there's that.
Yeah, a bold choice from that texter to potentially challenge that. The hardest working man in Lincoln radio would not be able to catch a women's basketball game. No discrimination from DP.
No. I watch. If you ask my wife, I watch too much. Like, I was like, well, why are you watching Ohio State and Purdue? Well, point of reference. To be able to be honest about it. It's from a coaching standpoint. I know when one team is getting more out of the physicality than the other, and a lot of that's perception because Nebraska plays a spaced offense. They like to shoot the ball in rhythm. They don't do a lot of hard picks. So when they face teams that run hard picks and who like to bounce off defenders, my goodness gracious, it shows. It shows. Go back and watch it. You'll see the flailing of the arms, the extra flops. Nebraska, rubs the arm of an Illinois player or Indiana player. There's a foul. It's not the case for Nebraska. And look, the reality is this: Nebraska still had opportunities to win. They played through. This is a tough team. There's a difference between being physical and being tough. Nebraska's tough. They will play through. They will play through. Body them, bang them around, push them around. They will still battle you. They're not going to get off their game, but it doesn't mean it doesn't affect their game. And being pushed around extra will take away the legs, and that's where those numbers show. So take a break.
I was just going to say, you can't take out the fact that that some radio guy's been pulling them away from their rest and getting them in the studio a little bit this last week.
Oh, that you're the third person that said, like, my goodness gracious, I need to leave these kids alone and let them. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, they only knew these kids are walking in on their own.
Hey, you should see me when I walk out of the studio every night from sitting in the same chair and talking into the same microphone. After a little while, my legs are just dead, and I just couldn't possibly lift up a basketball at that point.
Well, just imagine just working until 11 o'clock and then trying to go skate at full speed. And then have somebody who's just poking you with a stick for 30% of that.
I have gone and played after I've been at the station, and it's energy level is affected slightly, but
that's why I don't have them on game day.
Exactly.
That's why I leave them alone. So you don't see the truth on tonight because we're leaving them alone. We're leaving Buzzy alone tonight. Let them get their beauty sleep. Let them get their basketball sleep. We will catch up with them next week.
All right. We'll be right back here on the Women's Basketball Postgame Show. Nick Sainert coming up at 7:45, so be sure to stay tuned for that. You're listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
Expect sunshine and mild conditions again. We'll top out near 57, a northwest wind at 10 to 15. A few clouds moving into the region tonight, a low of 30. Tomorrow we'll hold a high of 42, but falling afternoon temps. North winds eventually gusting 35 to 40, and a chance of snow moving in by late tomorrow afternoon. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
The likelihood that you're going to have a guy that's as talented or even a step up from what you shipped away in Adrian Martinez, right? That's slim. You're going to have to conform your offense, your game plan to this quarterback, and this quarterback and all those guys on that offensive side of the ball are going to have to buy in this season. And that's one thing, right, is that this coaching staff has to relay that message that there is no choice.
Yeah.
You're either bought in or we're going to do this thing without you.
Weekdays from 2 to 3 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them. But I think in reality, he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something that's wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council. The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them. But I think in reality, he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something that's wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Now back to the Husker women's basketball postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back into the Husker women's basketball postgame show with Big Sky and DP. Nick Sainert will be joining us in about 13 minutes. But DP, you like to break down the numbers that matter. What were the ones that were jumping out to you tonight? Oh, you're muted, DP. There you go. Ahead.
Yeah. 19 turnovers. 19 turnovers is a number that dictates how this game is being played. Indiana wanted to turn it into a brawl. That's what they did. That's how you take finesse technique players off their game, is to be physical with them in space make some chaos, kind of throw some extra bodies into passing windows. They did a really good job of doing that. I think losing Sam Ivey only playing 17, 18 minutes didn't help with being able to finish and being able to handle the pressure that Indiana was putting on them. Early turnovers. Let's see, your ball handlers. Jess Shelley had 6, 4 for Sam Hybe in 18 minutes, 3 for Ashley Scoggins, 3 for Allison Widener. That's some legitimate ball pressure that Indiana played with, and this is how Indiana sets its tone. They did it against Maryland and got them out of Maryland's out of their offense. It took them out of their offense. And then finally Maryland got it together because they were getting buckets off steals. That's a big part of it. 74 possessions in the game, 30 scores for Nebraska in 74 possessions. You want that number to be a little bit higher. The game was pretty much back and forth, but the turnover percentage, the number of possessions versus your turnovers, 74 possessions and 19 turnovers. That's 1 out of every 4 possessions. You can't do that in the Big Ten. You can't do that and shoot 29% from the field. Like, there has to be, you can cover a lot of ALs by knocking down your threes and knocking down your free throws. But they left 7 points on the board with the free throw game, and then 15 empty opportunities from 3. Add to that the 19 turnovers. That's 34 possessions and plus 7 points that Nebraska left on the table in a game that ultimately ended up being decided by 7 points.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to look at the free throws and say, well, there's your 7 points right there. Obviously, going 100% from the line would be incredible, but not unheard of. And I would also like to ask, you mentioned multiple times that this isn't a panic button loss.
No.
If you're Coach Williams, what's your message to the team after this game?
Dump it. Just put it behind you. You can't go back and change it. You're not going to you can't go back and make shots. They'll do some pretty good film study because they know what Iowa is going to do against them. They just saw them. So there will be some slight adjustments. The Sam Hybe injury will play some part of it because they may, if she's not going to go against Iowa, then Allison Widener needs to, prepare herself. Ruby Porter has to prepare herself. They're going to have to contribute against a team that just beat you. And mind you, you played well enough to beat Iowa, but you didn't get over the hump. I would say this. The Huskers were 15 of 31 on layups, shots to the glass. 15 of 31. You can't. Big Ten basketball is physical. It's rough. It's going to be contested. 16 missed opportunities off the glass. That's just too much. And all of that's fixable. All of that's fixable. You can get into your regular space. Markowski will get a little bit more comfortable. Of course, she's better at home than she is on the road. She was 8 of 15. Izzy Bourne was 2 of 9. A lot of those misses were there. But there were too many things that went wrong. Specifically, going 15
DP, I'm going to go ahead and solo you on the stream here. Maybe not anymore. I was going to say our fire alarm was going off. But it is no longer going off, so I'll just keep my nose out for some smoke. I got a little nervous there for a second. But from Sam McEwen on Twitter, Coach Amy Williams said it feels like the team didn't play a full 40 minutes tonight. She also has a quote. Sam has a quote here from her. We can't wait until the fourth quarter to play and to guard. What are your thoughts on Amy Williams' comments in the postgame there?
Yeah, I mean, it's the urgency factor. And a big part of it is asking for players who aren't used to being in those situations or supposed to be in those situations, figuring out what the game speed is. Like, the young players don't know what the Big Ten game speed during crunch time is. They don't know what that speed is. And remember, Bella Cravens is not there. They missed her tonight. Because she's the finisher. We love Markowski, but Cravens is the finisher. You then lost Sam Hybe. So two of your captains aren't there, and you're on the road. The young players had to get out there and figure it out. Kendall Coley trying to figure out what her space is going to be. Annika Stewart has to figure out, is she a wing player? Is she just a tall wing player? Or is she a skilled post player? Like, is her job just to come in, create space by pulling bigs out? If she's on the floor, they can't go 15 of 31 from off the glass. Can't do it because there's no big down there defending. And the best big that Indiana has didn't play tonight because of her knee. So there's some things to work on. Yeah, you can't wait to get behind it and make the mad dash. But there were several things that they could have done right in the first half. You can't go in a halftime down, 12, 14, whatever it was. She's right in that they got it going too late against the number 6 team in the country. Like if that's Rutgers or Wisconsin, you might be able to get away with it. Not against the number 6 team in the country. Can't do it.
I think that's the story here tonight is you come up with a close loss because you don't execute, you have the turnovers, and you don't shoot well from the 3-point line. And you might have been able to get away with that against a lesser opponent, but not a top 10 team in the country. And one of our guests is trying to get into the building right now. So that is why our alarm went off. So DP, I'm going to go ahead and solo you for a minute, and I'm going to go let our guest in.
You do that. It's going to be interesting. So the schedule as it goes forward, Nebraska will have a chance to get themselves together and turn it around. The schedule, again, they go to Iowa, and they've got a rematch from a game from a week ago. They had opportunities in that game to get a Big Ten win. They know that Caitlin Clark is a tough defend. They now know that there are other players on the roster who can step up, as they did. They know what's coming. Behind that, the Huskers then get the opportunity to come home and face a Rutgers team that they should be able to get right on. After Rutgers is Illinois. Again, those 2 of the 3 teams that are at the bottom of the division. That game will be back in Champaign, so it'll be Thursday at home against Rutgers, Sunday on the road in Champaign, Illinois, and then back to PBA on the following Thursday, Australia night. So we can expect Jazz, Shelley, and Izzy Bourne to put it together and do their thing, and then back here at PBA. So is everything good there? I have to worry. Do I need to call 911? Are we good?
No, I'm safe. There's no one holding me hostage or at a dangerous object point. My question for you is: I know you're anti people who are anti-wave. Are you anti-theme nights at sporting events? Or are you a big theme night guy?
I'm not, but I understand why they exist.
I think they're fun.
I understand why they exist. Here's the thing. So normally I'm coaching or I'm working. So I don't really ever get to enjoy it. Like as a coach, one of the high schools that I was, they're very theme night. Like every night was an event and every night was theme night, right? It was a big deal. It's going to have a blackout. They would part the sea. They'd have one of the students dressed as Jesus, and they would part the Red Sea. It's a full on wave. I'll send you videos of the student bodies that I'm used to dealing with, so you understand what theme nights really mean to folks. I love that the students get to do it and fans get to do it, but usually I'm just spectating.
Well, we'll go ahead and throw it to break there on DP's hot theme night take, and we'll get to Nick Sainer on the other side of that break here on the Women's Basketball Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring For production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Security First Bank. We're the bank, and we make your mortgage more manageable with flexible terms, trusted advice, and competitive rates. When you work with us, we'll know your name, but we'll also get to know your home dreams too. Security First Bank of Lincoln. Voted best small bank in Nebraska by Newsweek magazine. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 505011.
I'm Jenny Benson, president of the NSEA, and I'm asking for your help. We know the best learning for our kids happens when they are in classrooms, in person, with their classmates and teachers. To help keep our public schools open for in-person learning, please follow health and safety guidelines from medical experts. Working together, our students continue to learn, grow, and thrive.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Jenny Benson. I taught for 32 years. Educators are used to the challenges of a typical school year, but the last year plus was far from typical. Yet everyone leaned in and found creative ways to adapt, innovate, and persevere. Behind each student were resourceful families and dedicated educators who reached out with open arms of support. Because of all the ways we work together, our students continued to learn, grow, and thrive.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You can search online for hours to find the best electricians in Lincoln and the surrounding area, but I'll save you time. High Electric has been serving their customers for 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They're experts in everything electrical, from remodeling to new additions, hot tub installations, electric vehicle chargers or EV chargers, lighting, ceiling fans, and more. High Electric takes jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at highelectric.com.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Now back to the Husker women's basketball postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back into the Husker women's basketball postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Big Sky. We're in the last segment here as we break down the Huskers' 72-65 loss to number 6 Indiana, and we bring in the Ticket's own Nick Sainert. Nick, first of all, how much of the game did you catch tonight?
I was able to watch it all. Actually, it was a lot closer of a finish than I think when you went down at half, and sometimes Nebraska was down 17 at one point. It can't be too disappointed with the way that Nebraska finished.
No, I was telling DP earlier that I was actually really impressed with the way they finished down the stretch, and it's probably been one of the points where I've been the most proud of a Husker athletic team since I came down to Lincoln. So I was really impressed with what the ladies were able to do tonight.
Well, yeah, and the thing is there's some disappointments that you can take out of the loss. I mean, the 19 turnovers you can point to and say that that's not key to finding success on the court. But once again, Nebraska and more importantly, Amy Williams is finding younger players that are putting in solid minutes every single game, and it's becoming a consistent thing that these coaches are able to lean on. Whether that's Alexis Markowski coming off the bench, which in the last 3 games, so she started against Michigan, and I tweeted this out, but she is averaging 17 points per game over the last 3 games in the 3 games that she started, and it's not against walkover opponents. Excuse me. It's number 8 Michigan, number 22 Iowa, and then number 6 Indiana. It's not like they're playing Maine and North Carolina Central anymore. These are quality Big Ten opponents, and she's doing this against them, and sometimes like tonight on the road, which is really, really impressive. So she's putting in big minutes. Allison Widener found herself in a bigger role than she might have been expecting tonight, especially with Sam Hybe going out, and we'll see what the future holds for Allison Widener. But I mean, they're able to lean on some younger guys every single night, whether that's Allison Widener, whether that's Alexis Markowski, or a couple of the other ones. Kendall Moriarty was one tonight as well. I mean, they're finding success in younger players, which is one of the positives that you can take out of tonight's loss.
One of the questions that DP raised with me was, do you want more usage out of Jazz Shelley, or are you pleased with how Amy Williams is choosing to use her so far in this season? And I can let you know that I said that I was pleased with the usage so far, and I like how deep the Huskers go into their bench, as opposed to an Indiana that only has one player come off the bench that entire game tonight. So I'll turn that question over to you. Do you like the way that Amy uses her bench, and do you think that Jazz needs a little bit more time with the ball in her hands?
Well, it's definitely encouraging, right, that they're able to go so deep into that bench, and this is without one of their starters, Bella Cravens. And so that kind of works into my last point that I was kind of talking about, finding depth on the bench. And once again, and this is kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, so I'll get back to it. But like in terms of like classes and stuff, Nebraska's pretty young. I mean, Michael Caton is the only player on this team that's listed as a senior. Sam Hybe's a junior, obviously, and COVID kind of shifts that thing around a little bit. But there's a lot of time for this team to get things figured out, and not even just this season, but for seasons to come. I mean, the last time that Nebraska played Indiana, Sam Hybe and Isabel Bourne were the only 2 current Huskers on the roster at the time. So that's something that, once again, something encouraging that you can take away. But in terms of Jazz Shelley, I mean, you have to say, I mean, she's leading the team in scoring every single game, and going into tonight's game, I should say, she's the team's leading scorer. She's averaging a little over 13 points per game. Well, tonight, I think she had 15. She didn't shoot from 3 that often, which is one of her stronger suits. So maybe, I think she only took 2 threes. I have to look at the stat sheet here real quick, but she only took 2 threes, hitting one of them. So, I mean, maybe if you can find an open look, maybe that's an opportunity for her to get some more scoring. But the thing about Jazz, and I've talked about this a lot, is she does so many of the little things well. And many times, whether it was against Iowa on Sunday or Indiana tonight, it's jumping, pass routes, or, trying to come out of nowhere to grab a rebound. It's the little things like that was able to put Nebraska in a position to stay competitive in this game against Indiana. So Jazz, I would say yes. Coach Amy Williams has used her well. Maybe when you're looking, just at tonight, maybe a couple more 3 balls would have benefited Nebraska, because she's pretty successful and she's pretty strong at shooting the 3 ball. But one thing about Jazz is, even when she's not scoring, even when she's scoring only 6 or 8 points, and I say only, but when she's only scoring, less than double figures, she still affects the game in so many other ways that it's really fun to watch. And that's something that this team does well across the board, is that every player gives that full out effort, which you can't always say for other programs or for every program. So, and that's no slight. That's just calling a spade. And so this team does so many of the little things, and the effort plays well. And even if they have a bad shot on offense, they don't allow that to affect their effort or hustle on defense. So that's something that's fun to watch. But in terms of just Jazz Shelley, I think Amy uses her really, really well. And I think she's fit in extremely well. And she's made an immediate impact, which is something that Coach Williams needed.
Nick, as we get up here against the top of the hour, I got one last question for you. Are you alarmed at all by the 3-point shooting woes for this team the last two games as they went 26 and 28% from beyond the arc, respectively?
Yeah, and that's something I was kind of noticing while I was going through the stats and after watching the game and stuff. Yeah, it definitely. I wouldn't necessarily say alarming because they still believe in what they're teaching and what they've trained on, and they know they can shoot it well, right? Because we saw it through their first 11 games, or I guess it'd be for 12 or 13 games, however you want to draw it up, that they shot the three ball well. And one thing that I would like to also point out tonight, with it only being, it's such a small, a 7-point loss, Indiana's one of the better defensive teams, not only in the Big Ten, but in the country. I mean, yeah, they're not necessarily, they're allowing 50 some points per game, which, according to the national numbers, isn't like all that exciting, or it's 45th nationally or 54th nationally, but they're still strong on defense. And Nebraska's, what they fall back on, their identity, if you want to call it that, is 3-point shooting and strong defense. Well, tonight, going up against the 6th best team in the country, they didn't play strong defense in the first quarter. Obviously, they didn't take care of the basketball on the offensive side, and then they didn't shoot the three ball all that well, like you just pointed out, Big Sky. So when you're looking at it, you can't be too surprised at the way this thing shook out. But once again, there's a lot of opportunities coming up for Nebraska. Here's a little fun fact for you: this 4-game stretch where they played 3 opponents, since they'll play Iowa on Sunday as well, the two for twice. Those 3 opponents all made the Sweet 16 or went farther in the NCAA tournament this last season. So with that being said, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, in my eyes, because these are high-quality opponents. And then after Iowa, you have Rutgers, Illinois, and Wisconsin, which as of right now are near 500 or below 500 in terms of record. So there's a lot of excitement to be had about Nebraska. The 3-point shooting is something that they do really, really well. It's part of their identity. So I'm not too concerned about it because Ashley Scoggin is one of the best 3-point shooters in the country.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now on our new